Children of the earth and sky, we are nurtured, sustained, given warmth and light from above and below. Supported by earth's strong, firm crust, we build our homes, till the fields, plant our gardens and orchards. When we turn from self and seek to be aware, we will find holy light in human faces, in blossom, birdsong, and sky. Then earth is truly our home, and we are one with all earth's creatures, parents of earth's children yet to be. Flower Communion service, which we're about to celebrate, originated in 1923 by Dr. Norbert Čapek, founder of the modern Unitarian movement in Czechoslovakia. On the last Sunday before the summer recess of the Unitarian Church in Prague, all the children and adults participated in this colorful ritual, which gives concrete expression to the humanity-affirming principles of our liberal faith. When the Nazis took control of Prague in 1940, they found Dr. Čapek's gospel of the inherent worth and beauty of every human to be, as Nazi court records show, too dangerous for the Reich to allow him to live. Dr. Čapek was sent to Dachau, where he was killed the next year during a Nazi medical experiment. This gentleman suffered a cruel death, but his message of human hope and decency lives on through his flower communion, which we celebrate today on its 100th anniversary. We will hear some of Dr. Čapek's original prayers to help us remember the principles and dreams for which he died, and to reinvigorate our own commitment to our relationships within this community and within our larger interdependent web.
And still they come. Thank you. I'd like to invite everyone here present or at home to take on a position of blessing, what that means to you. Maybe reach a hand forward if you would like, towards the flowers here, or towards your screen if you're online, and I'm going to read the original blessing of the flowers from the first flower communion. Infinite Spirit of life, we ask thy blessing on these, thy messengers of fellowship and of love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire and affection and devotion to thy holy will. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as one of thy most precious gifts. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we can do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do thy work in this world.
It's now time for us to share in the flower communion. I ask that each of you in turn approach the communion vases, that you do so quietly, reverently, with a sense of how important it is for each of us to address our world and one another with gentleness, justice, and love. I ask that you select a flower different from the one you brought that particularly appeals to you. As you take your chosen flower, noting its particular shape and beauty, please remember to handle it carefully. It's a gift that someone else has brought to you. It represents that person's unique humanity and therefore deserves your kindest touch.
As you begin to come forward, I'll read a lightly updated version of the original flower communion prayer, and our choir is leading us off. Please feel free to come up and start taking flowers.
Aren't they pretty?
In the name of Providence, which implants in the seed the future of the tree, and in the hearts of all people the longing to live in love, in the name of the highest, in whom we moves and who makes the parents, the offspring, and the chosen family what they are. In the name of sages and religious leaders who sacrificed their lives to hasten the coming of peace and justice, let us renew our resolution sincerely to be real siblings regardless of any kind of bar which estranges us from one another. In this holy resolution, may we be strengthened, knowing that we are God's family, that one Spirit, the Spirit of love, unites us, and may we endeavor for a more perfect and joyful life. Amen.
Our reading this morning is an excerpt from the essay, Free Fruit for All, by Ross Gay. Ross Gay is a poet and an educator at Indiana University in Bloomington. He's also the founding member of the Bloomington Community Orchard, which is a free fruit for all food justice program. I don't know when it became apparent to me that this orchard dream, which we'd been working on like our lives depended on it for the past 8 months, but let's say 9 for the poetry, was a dream as much for others as it was for ourselves. Speaking for myself, I'm a college professor, and the life of a professor is often itinerant. It's not especially common for someone to stay in one job for a long time, maybe particularly if that someone is Black and the job is in Indiana. And given as most of these fruit trees wouldn't come into full production for some years, at least 5, maybe 10, I might very well be long gone, living elsewhere before the trees would be ready to feed us. Or I might be really long gone, as some of our dear volunteers would be before the trees got into full production. We're all getting older. But at some point it became abundantly clear that all this labor, all this vocating, was actually for some future someone. Might be me, but it might not be. And it would definitely be for someone I would never know and could never imagine. If all went well, if these trees stayed in the ground, if they grew up, they would feed people in the future. Though I don't yet have the words for it, planting that orchard, by which I mean, you know this by now, joining my labor to the labor by which it came to me, reminded me or illuminated for me a matrix of connection, of care that exists not only in the here and now, but comes to us from the past and extends forward into the future. We are in the midst of rhizomatic care that extends in every direction, spatially, temporally, spiritually, you name it. It's certainly not the only thing we're in the midst of, but it's the truest thing by far.
Some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leaves your soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's a heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's a dream afraid of waking that never thank you to Gretchen and the choir for indulging the thing that would have made 12-year-old me the happiest person in the entire world. To celebrate and honor the history of the flower communion today on its 100th anniversary, I've heard it reported that it was actually on June 4th, 1923, but then I read somewhere else it was June 24th, so it's the spiritual anniversary. It's wonderful and right that we have already named and honored the Reverend Dr. Norbert Čapek. I want to spend a few moments now honoring his wife, the Reverend Maja Čapek. Born in Czechoslovakia in 1888, Maja emigrated with her family to the United States in 1907, and she attended the Columbia University School of Library Science, where she met Norbert, then a Baptist minister, and they were married in 1917. Norbert found his faith challenged and changed towards more liberal views, and Maja not only supported his shift to the Unitarian faith, but was a partner in his ministry. They returned to Czechoslovakia in 1921 and founded what was then the largest Unitarian church in the world in Prague. Maja Čapek was ordained a Unitarian minister in 1926. She was on a lecture tour in the United States when the Second World War broke out in Europe, and so was unable to return to her home. During her tour and her time in the United States, she introduced the flower communion to First Parish Church Unitarian in Cambridge, Massachusetts. While her husband died in Dachau in 1942, she did not learn of his death until 1945. And in a letter from the Reverend Mrs. Maja V. Čapek to the Reverend Dr. Ernest Kubler of the American Unitarian Association dated June 1st, 1961, speaking of the flower communion, she writes, "The exchange of flowers means that I shall walk without reservation with anyone, regardless of his social status or his former religious affiliation, as long as he is ready and willing to go along in search of truth and service to man." The Reverend Maja Čapek died in December 1966. Both the Reverends Čapek are ancestors of the great faith tradition that we have inherited, and it felt important to name them and honor them both as we consider the roots both of this specific ceremony and our literal roots, the ways that we are connected. When we reenact a ritual that has been shared across time, we are joining with all those who went before us and all those who will come after us. We are acknowledging that we are all a part of something larger than ourselves, and that who we are is bound up in relationship with all of our ancestors and all of our inheritors. We are naming that which we want to preserve, to uplift, and declare of highest worth. As Maja put it, to walk without reservation with anyone, regardless of his social status or his former religious affiliation, as long as he is ready and willing to go along in search of truth and service to man. And taking a moment to note that the way that language use has shifted since 1961, this is still a radical statement at its heart. Maja and Norbert Čapek wanted this ceremony to encourage participants to consider taking their faith journey without reservation, with anyone, regardless of their status or former affiliation, so long as they are bound up in the desire to search for truth and to be of service. A living, active faith, a faith in motion, a faith willing to re-examine where it has fallen short of its high ideals and to engage in restorative work. No faith, no institution, no single person nor group of people can uphold all of its ideals all of the time. It's not possible. We fail and we falter. And we ideally return again and again to repair. This is also the power of returning again and again to the ritual, to considering its heart and its truth. I wonder if the Čapeks ever considered that Unitarian Universalists would still be honoring this gift and participating in this ritual 100 years later. Whatever they imagined, their faith led them to plant a seed that would nourish the world for generations to come. And so we come to our reading, thank you, Julie, from Ross Gay, poet, professor, and gardener, and co-founder of that community orchard in Bloomington, Indiana, and his own take on seeds today nourishing the future. Planting that orchard reminded me or illuminated for me a matrix of connection, of care that exists not only in the here and now, but comes to us from the past and extends forward into the future. We are in the midst of rhizomatic care that extends in every direction, spatially, temporally, spiritually, you name it. It's certainly not the only thing we're in the midst of, but it's the truest thing, by far. It's certainly not the only thing we're in the midst of, but it's the truest thing, by far. We know we're in the midst of it, don't we? We watch as the roar back of anti-LGBTQIA+ legislation dogs people and communities all over our nation. Didn't we just list off 22 cities in the United States, 4 of them here in Pennsylvania, where gun violence killed or injured 4 or more people in moments in the last week? Lives changed forever, lives ended, lives impacted, and our list doesn't even bring the shooters into the conversation. But they and their families also experience lasting impact and harm. Hurt people, as the saying goes. But there's another side to that. There's a side that resides in the truth, in the truth that lives within our rituals of beauty and of joy, in the music we make together, and the love reflected in the faces of everyone selecting a flower. The other side is that healing people heal people. One small flower, or huge flower, is not functioning on the scale of a fruit tree, certainly not a whole orchard of them. But regardless of size, every planted, growing, healing, thriving thing in the world can be a balm to our souls, to heal us, to be healing forces in the world. Not out of a sense of some kind of unchanging perfection, but rather one of messy, imperfect striving for truth and desire to be of service. Not just to ourselves and those around us, but to the generations that will come after. We not only choose our companions, our chosen family, we not only give them beautiful gifts of growing things, but we plant the seeds that grow tomorrow's gardens, that feed tomorrow's dreams. We seek not for perfection, but for a willingness to repair. We seek not to perpetuate hurt, but to instill healing. It's certainly not the only thing we're in the midst of, but it's the truest thing. by far.
So the next piece of music is a little bit of a meditation and an experiment and kind of a statement of faith. The words are pretty simple, and the most important words might be, I know. So the ground rules for singing this are very easy. You may sing it as many times as you like. You can start with the choir, you can start later than the choir. Whatever you do, it will be right, and it will be beautiful. So this is I Know This Rose Will Open. I hope you'll meditate with us through this simple, beautiful hymn.
Please join us in extinguishing our chalice and your home chalices, if you have lit them, with these words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
As we carry the flame of our faith in our hearts each week, as we carry the seeds that are planted each day that we grow in friendship and joy within this community, and as we acknowledge that the seeds we plant today will nourish those we will never know in the future, let us hold that truth within as we move forward into the week ahead.